Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special episode of the Co-op Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary Ace Wavy. How's it going, Gary?
It's going very well. Thank you very much. I'm excited for this episode because it's a real throwback, and I'm still surprised that it's been 10 years since we've been doing this thing. So I'm very excited for this episode, and you guys will see why.
Yes, I agree 100% with everything that you said. We're also joined by Mr. Fergus Mills. How's it going, Mills?
I'm
Oh,
ex-
it's going very well, man. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored that we can come back and do a special 10-year episode, man. You guys have been holding it down for 10 years. I mean, the coalition is going strong, so I'm proud of everything that got started way back when.
Awesome. I agree. And of course, we're joined by Mr. Anthony Frazier. How's it going, Mr. Frazier?
What's up, man? I'm happy to be here, bro. I'm happy to be here. Just like Fergus said, I'm happy that you guys have been going 10 years strong. It's a blessing. We done seen a lot of people come and go, man, but we're going to get into that later.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And I do want to take a quick minute to give a shout out to everybody that has been working at the coalition. I will give them a proper shout out later, but don't worry that they will return on future episodes. So definitely stay tuned for that. Obviously today's topics are going to be a little bit different. We have two news stories we definitely want to talk about, and then we're going to get into a couple of other topics related to the coalition and some of our thoughts on a lot of things that have happened over the years. So the first topic we're going to get into, we definitely need to let people know what we have been playing, and I'm very curious to hear this because I have no idea if Anthony and Mills have been playing that many games. So I'm actually going to go to you first, Mills. What have you been playing?
Well, I can easily let you know what I've not been playing, and that's anything to do with an Xbox console. I had, I had an Xbox One,
You still hating on Xbox, after all these
yeah, I'm
years?
still hating on Xbox. I know
man.
it's in my blood.
Oh, man.
10 years ago, Xbox was on top. Xbox was very strong. I even bought an Xbox One. I played Cuphead, Gears of War, but then I sold it. I don't know, Microsoft. We'll come back to that later. I did buy Red Dead Redemption 2. I haven't played it that much, but it seemed like it's going to live up to the hype. I did play Mega Man 11 because I had a flight to Hawaii like last week, so there was a long flight. Mega Man 11 is pretty dope, so I'm definitely going to play that again and go back to Red Dead Redemption when I can.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm curious about Mega Man 11. I don't know when I would have time to play that, but yeah, that's awesome. Some pretty good games, I would say.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Battlefield 5. I kind of think it's going to suck, but I know it's going to kind of bring back some memories once they kind of start patching it, and they're saying all the maps are going to be free. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
You're like the first person I've heard to be excited for that game.
I know. I accept it. I realize it's not going to be a great game, but they have the time to build on it. And they just kind of put the resources into it and don't treat it like that Star Wars game. They can definitely build on it for.
Well, at the very least, it definitely will have more content than Call of Duty Black Ops 4, though. Because that game is only multiplayer. You got single player campaign in this, multiplayer, and then I guess you got the Battle Royale mode coming in 2019. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't do me any good to talk bad about Call of Duty because they're just going to ignore me and keep making money. I mean, the train can't be stopped on Call of Duty, so shout outs to them. So.
No, you're right. Absolutely. Okay, so how about you, Anthony? What have you been playing?
Man, all I've been playing was Words with Friends with my girlfriend. That's it. That's it, man.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I recall we used to play that game with a couple different people on the team, and I know people would be bragging when they would beat the other person. I know Ed was one of the people that was bragging the most. So that's yeah, I remember
man,
that.
That's all I've been playing, man. Just keeping me busy, man. I've been playing Boggle and a whole bunch of just mobile games, man. I ain't been hardcore gaming. My brother, he stays with the hardcore gaming. He stays on the latest, man. But I've been too busy, man. I've been too consumed. So.
Oh yeah, no, I totally understand that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I think I'm gonna go next this time. So I put more pressure on Gary because I know he's been playing Overwatch, but hopefully he's been playing more than Overwatch. But I'll get to you in a second, Gary. As for what I've been playing, really pretty much the same as last week. More Red Dead Redemption 2. Way too much stuff to do in that game, and it's great. It's not a game that you want to rush through and play. Because you want to take your time to just enjoy it. But with that said, I'm very much enjoying the game. I know that Rockstar announced that the Red Dead Online, I believe that's coming at the end of November. So I'm very curious to see what that experience is like. But I'm enjoying the game a lot so far. I'm glad that they found a way to bring John Marston back, and you have a couple of missions with him, so that was cool. But yeah, I still have so much to cover. I've only just begun chapter 3, and I believe it's about 4 or 5 more chapters to go. So I will be playing that for quite some time. But anyone that hasn't picked up Red Dead Redemption 2, thinking about picking it up, I definitely will urge you to pick it up if you are curious about it. Just be prepared to deal with a couple of things that we addressed last week with the controls. Yeah, that takes a little bit getting used to. It's still a great game though. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a perfect game, but it is a great game, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so that's pretty much all that I've been playing. So Gary, the floor is now yours. How about you let us know what you've been playing?
Yeah, so of course we know I've been playing Overwatch. Nothing's changed. I've been playing this game for over 2 years now, since the day it came out. So yeah, I'm still playing Overwatch. But also I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and like you said, there's a lot to do in the game. I will say that it's definitely one of the best games I've played that came out this year. And I think it's still kind of early into the game but I think it might be my personal game of the year, to be honest with you. I did play God of War. I haven't played Spider-Man yet, but from the games I've played that came out this year, this is quickly becoming my favorite. And one thing I appreciate, because with the first Red Dead Redemption, it was really great for its time, like when it came out, but I found myself getting bored of it after a while. Like the appeal of it just kind of wore off. But with this game, it's like I can't get enough of it. It's like it's very atmospheric. It pulls you in. There's always something to do. I like how you have to really build a bond with your horse and everything, and with your gang. The people in your gang and everything like that. And I just get really addicted to the task of making money, both for your Arthur, your main character, and for the gang. So I'm really really liking it at the moment. So yeah, been playing that as well, and that's pretty much it. Just those 2 games right now.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. I can't wait till the end of the year. We have our discussion about the games of the year, because you definitely have to play a couple of the titles you mentioned, but yeah, that's going to be a very interesting discussion once we have it.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I've seen of Spider-Man, I'm not sure if I'll like it more than I like this, but I am a huge Spider-Man fan, fan of the character, so I definitely owe it to myself to actually play that game at some point, especially before the game of the year discussion. So I'll pick that up soon for sure.
Oh, absolutely, and just so I'd be clear with one thing, I'm not really sure if Spider-Man is game of the year, but I will at least say it is the best Spider-Man game that I have played, considering all the games that have been released before. But yeah, we definitely will talk about that after you've had a chance to play it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and let's jump into these two big news topics for the week. The first topic, this is one that I can't wait to hear what both Gary and Mills have to say about this as Final Fantasy fanatics. Gary especially. We received news earlier this week that Final Fantasy XV director Tabata, he is leaving Square Enix to start his own studio, and all of the upcoming Final Fantasy XV content has officially been canceled. So I know some people were pretty angry to hear this announcement, and there were some people that also didn't really care too much about it, because I know that there was already a ton of content released for Final Fantasy XV, but then Square Enix had announced another, like I guess a season 2, I guess they call it, like another batch of DLC, and now pretty much all of that has been canceled with the exception of the next DLC they have coming out, which I believe will be the last one. So, Gary, what were your thoughts when you heard this news, since you are such a diehard Final Fantasy fan?
Yeah. So I mean, this game came out. I believe it was like 2 years ago, 2016, I think. Um, and I was one of the people saying that they should not continue to put out content for this game. Like the original game was great. You know, it fulfilled a need because obviously this was it was supposed to be Versus 13 and they turned it into Final Fantasy 15, and then they specifically hired Tabata to finish to manage that whole transition from making it Versus 13 to Final Fantasy 15, and I think he did an excellent job. He definitely fulfilled his requirements of that role, but it seemed to me like, I don't know, like Square Enix focus has kind of changed, and they are trying to rely more on DLC and add-on content and things like that. And I think they need to stop relying on that so much and just focus on making good games, because that's what the Final Fantasy series is about. Like, you get a quality RPG experience with every iteration, but they're kind of sacrificing some of that quality to focus on putting out more and more content to try and sell it to people. And I don't like that, because it's like they're becoming more westernized. They're becoming like an EA or Ubisoft or something like that. Whereas that, I think they should just focus on the making the best possible game they can. Now, I feel like they should have already been focusing on Final Fantasy 16. We know that they're coming out with the Final Fantasy VII remake, but they should be looking towards 16, and they shouldn't have spent so much time and so much money on creating content for 15. Like that, that game, it came and went, and it got outshined by other JRPGs like Persona 5, Dragon Quest. Nier Automata was another RPG that kind of outshone 15 in terms of popularity. So I think they should have just moved on from that and focused on the future. And I think we don't know why Tabata left, and there's probably going to be some sort of non-disclosure agreement. He probably won't talk about it for a while, but from different news stories and reports that I've heard, I feel like he got frustrated with Square Enix approach to to making content for these games, because I know he got very frustrated because there were things he planned to do with the story in 15, but the company kind of steered him away from doing it the way he envisioned. So I think he got really frustrated and he wanted to move on and do his own thing, and I feel like that's what's going on here. Now, I will say that not every Final Fantasy 15 fan feels the way I feel. Some of them actually wanted to see the content that was supposed to come out. And it sucks for them because now all that content is cancelled, and there won't be any expansion on, you know, these different characters in that, you know, world and everything. So it sucks for them, but I mean, there's gonna be more Final Fantasy regardless. So I mean, you can't, you know, can't be too mad about it. And plus, we have Kingdom Hearts coming up. That's like another big series that they're trying to focus on. So, I mean, there's gonna be more games to fulfill, you know, your desires and everything. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I got to say about it. I want to hear what Mills thinks, because I know he played 15.
I did play 15, but I wasn't able to finish it. I mean, it just was one of those games that it came out at the wrong time. I think it was just too many games during that holiday season, and everybody's been waiting for Final Fantasy for so many years, that specific one. It's like when I finally got it, it's like I didn't care about it. So I played it for like 20 hours and I just stopped. So I'm kind of thinking the developers may even have a similar mindset, that they've been working on this thing for so long that they just didn't want to work on it anymore. But because they put so much money and time into it, they had to figure out ways to kind of recover their money. So they were trying to come up with these DLCs. I mean, but somewhere down the line, they just realized they didn't want to make this content. So that's what I'm imagining, that director just decided to bounce. So, I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, I'm not going to play the content, so don't put it out. So I'm sure a lot of people will feel that way too. So, I mean, you said a lot of things, and I agree with a lot of what you said. So, I mean, I can't say it better than what you already did. So.
Yeah, and I played some of the early DLC they made, like one of the first 3 DLC packs they released, the Ignis, the Gladiolus, and I forgot the other guy's name. But those were very shallow and just it felt very thrown together, like there wasn't much to it. So if that's the level
I did play those first 2. Yeah, those first 2 DLCs, it was like, why are you charging us $10 to play this mediocre crap? And it's like, if I knew this content would have been what it was, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have bought the season pass. So I feel like they didn't put enough time and passion into developing those DLCs. So, I mean, the main game itself, you can tell it had a good foundation since they were working on it. It had a unique combat system. They implemented playing with multiple characters eventually. They kind of had a good story. But it's like once you started to get towards the middle of the game, that's when I really.
Uh-oh. You're cutting out, Mills.
Square, you know, that right there is Square Enix. They didn't like what he had to say, so they had to adjust his his connection. So
they pulled the plug.
DLC sucks. The end.
Cool. Yeah, I guess we got the gist of it then. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can say. But as for Tabata, I feel like he did a great job. I remember seeing him at the one of the E3s I went to. I think it was 2016. I remember seeing him there, and he was given like a presentation of the game. This was before it was released, and he seemed very passionate about it. And I like, you know, I always like it when I see or get to, you know, either speak to a developer or watch them talk about the game. I like to see that they have a lot of passion, that they put a lot of thought behind the game and everything. And you can tell he you know, definitely did that. To me, it just really seems like he couldn't agree with Square Enix and his bosses. And I really think that's why he's left the company. But I wish him well, and I hope he goes on to do wonderful things with the new projects that he's working on.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like these developers, they gotta want to be passionate and want to put their time into something. And if he's not feeling it anymore, hopefully his next project is what he wants it to be.
Oh yeah, I certainly agree with everything that you both said. As you know, I'm just going to keep it real. I'm not really a Final Fantasy fan like that. Final Fantasy.
We know.
Oh, you know. Okay. Well, I will say that Final Fantasy 15 was a game that I had every intention of picking up, but you know, I had to just come to the realization that you know either there was something else that came out at the time, or I knew I wasn't going to play the game, so I didn't bother touching it. So with that said, it is possible I'll pick it up later, but no, you know, we'll just see what happens.
I don't believe that, Mr. Bailey. You still haven't finished Horizon.
Oh, you're right. Well, I haven't even started Horizon Zero Dawn yet. So yeah, I have a lot of games I got to get through. So we'll see. One quick question I did want to ask before we move on to the next topic, and I don't know if Mr. Frasier has anything he wants to say on Final Fantasy.
He don't care.
Nah, man, I don't have nothing to say. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised this shit's still relevant. You know, 2018. Man. Like, this shit's crazy, man. That's the power of a brand. I'll tell you one thing.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because the question I was going to ask is, and maybe this is an answer that only Gary would know for sure, did Final Fantasy 15 meet the sales expectations that Square Enix put out there? Because I'm trying to figure out what are they going to do now? Are they going to work on Final Fantasy 16, or are they just going to work on these other projects and come back to Final Fantasy at a later time?
Oh, they're always going to be working on Final Fantasy games because they have a few franchises that they go to, like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, but Final Fantasy is definitely one of the most popular, and they know that they're always guaranteed to make money from it. So they're always going to be working on some Final Fantasy games, whether it's, you know, 2 at the same time or whatever. Now, we know that they're working on the 7 remake, but I fully expect that they've been working on 16 already, but we just don't know about it yet. Because they're always, you know, going to be preparing for that next Final Fantasy. So we'll definitely see more of it. You know, I mean, my argument was just that they should focus less on making content for 15 and just put all their efforts towards 16. So I'm hoping that now this has happened, they will amp up on the development of 16, and then we'll hopefully get to see that early in the next generation or something. So,
I just end off by saying hopefully you are right about what you said, that we'll see it early, because I don't want it to be 16 years before you see Final Fantasy 16. That is entirely too long.
No, it will be 16 years before we see the Final Fantasy VII remake.
If Square Enix knows what's good, they're just gonna start putting all Final Fantasy games on the Nintendo Switch to start getting some money back. Because they did put that Final Fantasy 15 Pocket version. I know a few people that was playing that, but they need full Final Fantasy experiences for the Switch, and they'll be all right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll see. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, and I think I might be the only one in here that actually saw this show, but I'm pretty sure that you guys have seen some reactions to the show, and of course I'm talking about the X018 event that Microsoft had yesterday in Mexico City. It was obviously an inside Xbox live stream, because they know they did start doing that show not too long ago, but this particular show basically was just highlighting a couple of different things. They talked about 16 games coming to Games Pass, and of course Hellblade was one of those games on that list, as well as confirming that Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori Will of the Wisp, several other titles that are also coming to Game Pass. But also during that show, they announced that they have acquired both Obsidian Entertainment and In Exile Entertainment. Hopefully I pronounced their name correctly. They acquired both of those studios, which specialize in making RPGs. So now they have 13 studios that they have that are pretty much working on new projects. And of course, Gary's favorite news, they announced that Crackdown 3 has a release date. It's coming out February 15th. So pretty soon, a couple of months away. But I wanted to get some early reactions based on the show. So Gary, I know that you saw some stuff. Well, what are your thoughts on what Microsoft had to show at this event?
Firstly, I just want to say it was a great idea to drop Crackdown 3 on February 15th because, all the Xbox owners out there, you get to wine and dine your girlfriend the day before, and then once that's all over, you can just focus 100% on Crackdown 3. So, very good strategy. Very good strategy there. But as for the stream, I actually caught it late, and when I tuned in, and because they kept showing that graphic of all the Games Pass games that are coming to the service, and I just got the gist like that the show had been trash. Like that when I hopped into the stream, like it just seemed like it was very underwhelming. Like I just got that I could feel the aura that it was like underwhelming. But I kept seeing on the side that they have yet to announce the two studios. So I was hoping that the announcement of the new Xbox studios was going to be something major. But when they got to that, obviously we'd already heard rumors about the Obsidian one, and the other one. I mean, the In Exile, that could be good. But I mean, ultimately, I don't think we're going to see games from these studios until the next generation, and we know the next generation is like 2 years out now. So I don't think we're gonna see a lot of the benefits of having these studios.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
I don't think so either.
like Microsoft is preparing for the future at this point. Like we're not gonna see anything now, and I think they want to get out of this generation as soon as possible. So they're just building towards the future right now. They're buying time.
Microsoft is they're doing what lottery teams do in the NBA when they want to get the #1 draft pick, which is let's just suck for the rest of the whole season. Let's just play the worst basketball ever. And when the season is over, we're going to be #1 because we've been basically in rebuild mode. Right now, Microsoft is technically, even though they've been coming out with like the X1, whatever, what was the new console they came out with the extra power and all of that, which is a waste of time.
Xbox One X.
Yeah, so like, they doing the One X and doing all this stuff, but really like they in lottery mode. They in lottery team mode, and I think it's a good thing. Personally, I think they got a lot of good. Like I don't see how some personally, and this is me, people come at me, come at me, I don't care. But I'm about to say something crazy. Personally, I don't see how Sony survives the next generation. I don't. Because if you look at all the moves that Microsoft is making now, they're future moves. Like these is the way people are moving. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where people are moving. Like the people, the Game Pass, that's smart as hell. And then them releasing the games on Game Pass. So if you already a subscriber, meaning you already get access, can you imagine when real blockbusters start hitting their Game Pass?
Yeah.
And all you gotta pay is your $10 a month to access it? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like that is the future. I don't care what anybody said. That's the future, because that's what's happening now across media. Every single piece of media is subscriber based now. That's worth a damn. Music, movies, television shows. Every single consumer media is all driven with this model. You mean to tell me Sony gonna be that one property where people always doing it the old way? Come on now. Come on, son. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah. Like, this was the last hurrah. I'm being honest with you. This was it. Because when this generation started, that was normal. But now as this generation is ending, you're seeing that that's not normal no more. Like, people want convenience. They want ease. And so,
That's true.
come at me, Mills. What's good? Come on. And Microsoft is making all the right moves. They saying, listen, all right, cool. We understand. We got all the future stuff is in play, but we suck at original games. Okay, so we just gonna cop Mad Studios.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree with all of that. Microsoft is in a position where they can be the dominant force next generation. We can see that, but to say Sony cannot maintain or be equally as relevant is what I'll disagree with, because Sony has the content, they have the base. They're not just going to lose that to Microsoft. They're going to maintain it. They're going to keep putting out the games, and they're going to keep trying to find ways to be competitive. Then they're not going to sit back and let Game Pass run over them, because I don't know where I heard this, probably on shout out to Tony and those guys on the Throwdown. They pretty much saying that PlayStation Now, we keep saying it sucks, but it's generating a lot of money, more than any other subscriber-based service on the console. Microsoft keeps giving out their Game Pass like the last year and a half. They keep giving away for $1. It's always on sale. No one's paying full price for it. So they're trying to set up for the future. But people are not holding on to the content, because soon as their subscription expires, they're canceling it and they're not continuing to play. So they got to figure out ways to how to maintain that. On the other hand, Sony is just putting out exclusives, and we're buying that and we're playing it and we're getting our third-party games. So we're just moving back and forth between exclusive and third parties, and this become PlayStation is the premier place to play. They're just rolling on, and that's why the numbers are what they are. So I don't see them just losing all of that. Microsoft is just going to gain a lot of what they don't have. So.
That's fair. I think, obviously Sony, even though they have the whacker service, it's making money, but it's clearly is not, technically sound. For what I've heard.
Clear as day, Game Pass is the better service, but it's not making the money.
You're right, and they're not making the money because, like I mentioned, right now, Microsoft is a lot of maintain. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have the content to make the money that Sony is gonna make, but they're setting themselves up in the future to do so. Now, to talk about what you were saying as far as Sony not being, you're right. Maybe Sony can compete, in the next, generation with everything. But I remember us saying the same thing, and maybe it wasn't you, but I could have sworn with the momentum that the 360 had, moving into this generation, that we wouldn't see Microsoft, become a lottery team. You know what I mean? Like, they came into this generation with looking like the big three, and then they left. Now they looking like the rookie, all rookies and shit. You know what I'm saying? And so,
since we stand on basketball, they was like the Thunder when they had Durant, they had Harden, they had Westbrook, and all of a sudden they traded all their best players and they fell off.
Exactly. So I mean, to me, I just don't want to take success for granted with Sony right now, because anything can happen. Like, can they go into the next generation with flying colors and still be able to compete and still dominate, possibly even still dominate over Xbox? Sure. But at this point, I'm just on some wait and see shit, because the way we consume content as human beings right now, it's just completely different. And it'd be interesting, even as gamers, like the e-game industry has surpassed in some ways, when we talk about revenue generating, esports, and so the way people even think about gaming is completely different from when this generation started. So it's just going to be, to me, I'm just doing some wait and see stuff. I'm not planting my flag anywhere in particular, but I am bullish on Microsoft's future moves. And if Sony is doing what they got to do, then, hats off to them.
All right. I agree with all that. They're looking like they're ready to come for the throne. So hopefully it works out for them. But let's stay back in the present a little bit. Crackdown. 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 They're finally dropping Crackdown. I mean, I played Crackdown 1 a lot. It was a great game, but I never played Crackdown 2. Does anybody still want Crackdown 3? I mean, is anybody actually gonna spend their time in February, not play Anthem, but play Crackdown 3? Because they're dropping at the same time.
Somebody answer this before they. Somebody answer this. Why did Crackdown 3 take so long?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Because they announced it too early, and it took longer for them to get it to a state of it being polished.
But that's my point. Like, it's a cell shaded game. What the fuck kind of polish does this game need? We've seen games that do way more technologically and graphically than this game, and still came out quicker.
That's true.
You know how many times they re-announced this game? Like they added a whole actor to the game, like Terry Crews. Like they added Terry Crews like 3 years after they announced the game the first time. Like,
and I seen that trailer and it was trash. Terry Crews doesn't make you want to go buy a video game.
No, I agree. I agree 100% with everything that you guys said. But there is at least one person that I do know that said that they are planning on picking up Crackdown 3, and that's the whole reason they're buying the Xbox One. And that person is on this podcast. His name is Gary.
Gary, if you buy an Xbox to play Crackdown 3,
he's joking.
Crackdown 3 is the definition of a lot of routine games.
Nah, he's lying, man. I ain't buying no Xbox for that. Plus, like, I'm pretty sure that's coming to PC too, right? So, I mean, if I wanted to, I could just play it on PC. So,
yeah, it's coming to Game Pass. So, yeah, it will be on PC also.
I mean, Crackdown just needs to not come out. They need to just cancel it. Xbox already has a history of canceling games. Just go ahead and cancel Crackdown. They got all these studios now. Just go ahead and put out a new IP and have Terry Crews being that. Because nobody wants Crackdown. So.
Yeah, they could do what Kojima did, like how what's his name was supposed to be in the PT game, Norman Reedus, and then that got cancelled, so he brought him on to the new game, the Death Stranding. So they should do that with Terry Crews. Put him in a new game. Put him in Alan Wake or something.
And since you mentioned Death Stranding, that would be my answer as to what does Sony have coming next generation, because we probably will not see that game until PS5 comes out. Because every time I see the game, no gameplay. It's the cinematic footage of, and I have no idea what the hell the story is about. So that game is no way in hell it's coming out soon.
Yeah, Kojima, he tripping on that one. I mean, I think he's taking advantage of us because we're such Metal Gear Solid fans. I'm gonna buy the game no matter what. The game could be crap, but I'm still gonna buy it to show my support for what he already made. But I mean, he has to put out gameplay if he wants this game to be a critical success. I mean, we got to see something that makes us want the game on a mass level. It's like.
I agree. Yep.
They had some gameplay. They had some guy running or something.
You talking about the stuff that they showed at E3?
Yeah. Didn't that get you excited, Mills? That E3 gameplay?
Man, that E3 gameplay was crap, man. I'm a PlayStation fan, but I can't just support anything unless it's Kojima. So that's why I'm kind of torn in the middle. Metal Gear Solid is my #1 series of all time. So I'm going to buy it just to support. But the game, I haven't seen anything. It could be a walking simulator for all I know. So I might buy it and sell it the next day if it sucks. So I just want to know what I'm actually buying.
Yeah, I mean, that's another game that's quickly rushing towards L territory. Because it's like, They showed that game like 2 years ago now, I think, like the first time, and we still don't know what the hell it's about. So That's quickly becoming an L. Like unless they explain what the game is about and when we actually might be getting it, then I think
Yeah,
people are gonna get tired of seeing it eventually.
yeah. I don't suspect it to be this #1 blockbuster Call of Duty sales game. It's gonna be for the hardcore. So
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I agree with a lot of what was said across the board. As for the Xbox event, I do have an article that I wrote that is on the website now about some things that some questions I had after I watched that event. I know Microsoft did announce that they have a Winter of Arcade they're bringing back. Um, but of course, they said that we're not going to announce those games. That's going to be at the Video Game Award show. So I had an issue with that because I think they should have definitely announced that stuff on their show. But I guess they wanted to try and hold some stuff exclusively for the Video Game Award show. So we'll find out what that's all about December 6th when they have that show. But other than that, I have to say it's a pretty lackluster show as a whole. So we'll see what Microsoft does. But I do agree, they're obviously preparing for the future. With that said, I personally don't believe that all 13 of those studios are going to deliver AAA games because a few of them they do pretty good games. But in the case of In Exile Entertainment, I spoke with some people after they announced that yesterday, and they didn't even know what the hell that studio does, what they have done. So they just not really sold on them yet. But I do think we can agree that Ninja Theory, whatever they do, is probably going to be pretty good. Playground Games, they're going to definitely deliver, and the Koalition with a C, they'll definitely deliver on what they're working on. The other ones, I think, until we see more and hear more, then we're going to have to wait. And I also add 343 on that list as well because of the Halo 5 campaign. No, man, that campaign was horrible. The multiplayer was great, but that campaign was, that was absolutely forgettable. So we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, any final thoughts you want to say, Gary, on Xbox before we move on to the next topic?
No, just I definitely agree with your article. It raised a lot more questions than it answered, and the event, considering it's like the end of the year, and we know Microsoft doesn't have another big blockbuster until like February. I mean, arguably, because Crackdown isn't, it might not be a blockbuster, but um, yeah, considering it's like their last event for a while, I feel like it should have had more of a bang, a bigger megaton or something like that. Um, and yeah, it just seemed like a throwaway event to me. Um, but yeah, I definitely, just to summarize, I definitely agree with a lot of what Cap said. I feel like Microsoft is gonna come out the gate swinging next generation, but for now, it's like they're just coasting along. So yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, I cannot wait to see what the responses will be in this particular part of the discussion because some people probably gonna have some complaints, but I look forward to seeing what all everybody has to say. And feel free to let us know your thoughts on the X018 event as well as Sony moving forward.
Yeah, big shouts to Reggie and Daniel Lawson in the chat and Robert McLeod. They're all talking about it right now. So big shouts to all those people.
Awesome. Yeah, I got to check out that chat. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, and this is more so a discussion piece. Oh yeah, well, got to may have to send Mills the link again.
Oh yeah, I'm on it.
But yeah, this is more so some general questions I guess you wanted to ask the panel in regards to what we think about the industry, how it has changed over the years. So the first question that you basically asked was, did this generation push the bar forward like the last one? So I'm gonna ask you to elaborate more on that question, Gary, and then we'll give you our opinion on this particular topic.
Yeah, so I mean, I know, I mean, this being the 10-year anniversary, it shows the growth of all of us that are here on this show today. Because it's like, we were such avid gamers. Like, we were, like, gaming kind of defined us a little bit 10 years ago when we first started the site and podcast and everything like that. But now it's like, obviously we have different goals and objectives. We're focusing on different things. So this generation, we've probably been gaming less, but I don't know how much of that is because of our waning interest, because of all our responsibilities, or is it that this generation just hasn't been as good as the previous one? So I wanted to, because Anthony and Mills haven't been here for a while, I wanted to just have a discussion about what we think about this generation in, as a whole, and do we feel like it pushed the bar like the previous generation did? Because the previous generation was so lit. Like, you had the Xbox wars. Like, we were arguing. Like, every podcast was an argument about which console had the better games, exclusives, which company was making the better moves, which company was innovating, which games were innovating. And there were so many innovative games last generation. So this generation, you could argue that it's failed to push that bar forward. So I just want to get, like, Mills and Cap's perspective on that, and how they feel that gaming has progressed over these years. So that's the basis of the discussion. So what do you think? Who wants to go first?
You want to go first, Mills, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Be honest, man, I don't feel like this generation pushed anything forward. Like on either platform, I think PlayStation had the most wow games this generation, but nothing really wowed me as much as games on PS3 has. Like Xbox, same thing. Like, I feel like there were more games on Xbox where, I remember the first time, seeing Gears of War, being out in the rain, with Marcus Phoenix, and having, like, being out there with the gat, about to go shoot some aliens, and that shit was fun. Like, I remember the first time playing BioShock. I don't know. I just feel like this generation personally was more of the same, man. For the most part. Of course, we had some standout games, so I'm not saying we didn't have any standout games, but I feel like last generation pushed the envelope a little bit more than this generation did. I feel like this next generation, when we talk about pushing the envelope, I don't think it's going to be from a graphic standpoint. Like, of course, the games are going to look good. I think the next generation, just from a technological standpoint, is going to push the industry forward. Like, we talked about Game Pass, for in Sony, for example, with Sony Now, PlayStation Now. So, like, just technical changes, I think, of where we game and how we game is going to be what the next generation is about. Graphically, I don't really think we're going to see that much of a jump. To be honest with you, I don't think so. So, I think I'm waiting to be surprised. But if I had to say where this generation is, I don't think it pushed the industry forward as much as last generation did. So that's just where I stand.
Yeah, I kind of agree with a lot of that too. I mean, the last generation just dropped too many games that were good, that kept us playing all the time. This generation is more concentrated. It seems like the games that come out is either going to be trash or they're going to be hot. There's no in-between games that I really want to play. So on the reverse end, I'm playing games this generation. If I'm playing them, they're very high quality. It's like I know what I'm getting into. I'm going to have a great experience. Last generation, I would just play a game and I would discover that it's hot. So I kind of give the last generation the edge for just continually giving us good experiences. But I really do. I like this generation too. because I'm playing games like Cuphead. I'm playing The Witcher 3 when I was playing that. I mean, these are high quality games. So I can't say this generation was trash in any way. It's a little different. So, but next generation, I'm expecting technological advances as far as how we get the content, like we talked about earlier. There's going to be a new wave of how we play games, and Microsoft is looking like they're in a position to lead that. So I'm just want to see what Nintendo and Sony is going to do.
Do you guys feel like the way companies are like milking DLC and loot boxes and microtransactions, like do you feel like that has kind of hurt innovation in gaming a little bit, because it's like they're more focused on the business practices now than the actual quality of the games? Do you guys agree with that?
I think so. I'm not gonna deny it. When you start focusing on making money, you lose some quality in exchange. But honestly, when we go through periods like that, it always leaves the door wide open for somebody to be all about the quality, and that game usually is the one that shits on everybody else. So they have to make money some way somehow. It's just like the music industry. You see how the way they consume music is the way people consume music has completely changed. And so if the way we consume is changing, the way that companies make money is going to change too, and it's going to make us feel a little uncomfortable in the beginning. I just hope that my I just hope that we were seeing a lot of this before, where we got builder games where a game at its base is just trash, and the only way to make the game hot is to keep buying all this extra DLC and microtransactions. I just hope it doesn't become more of that. Like, I want to be able to have a great experience with the game, whether or not I choose to buy anything extra with this shit. Like, if I don't ever want to buy anything else for this game, I should still be able to have a complete experience. Still should be able to have fun. Still should be able to. So, like, I just think if a game, you know, moves in that direction where you're not having a complete experience unless you're purchasing, items that should have been in the box with it, then that's trash. And I think that's a development that don't deserve your money. So
yeah, a lot of studios do this, but I want to take time to specifically call out Activision and Destiny 2, because they've been pissing me off for the last couple of years with this. When they drop the game and it's hot for a month, then all of a sudden you can see tweets that the game starts giving you less content before the DLC comes out. Then all of a sudden that DLC comes out. If you don't buy it, you pretty much don't even need to play that game anymore. Then all of a sudden, 6 months comes along, they sell you the game with the DLC like for $30 or something. But if you own the game already and you only buy the DLC, it's still the same price as buying the whole package together. So that makes me feel like I shouldn't have even jumped in the game at the very beginning if it's not going to be a full experience. So I don't feel like I ever got my money's worth for Destiny 2. So.
Yeah, they messed up a lot with Destiny 2, because when that first Destiny came out, the way people were like stuck on that game, like I would see people on that, like on my PlayStation friends list, like they were on that game from morning to evening, even with the time zone difference and everything, like people just stayed on that game. And I was one of those people at a certain point. Like, I feel like that game, the first Destiny, is one of those standout games from this generation, because it started doing things we hadn't really seen in a lot of console games before, in terms of the social features and how you group up and run missions together, and the loot drops and everything like that. Like, it was really that was one of the games that was kind of innovating and bringing new concepts into console gaming. But like, Destiny 2 was a missed opportunity, because they could have taken that formula and solidified it, but they completely dropped the ball because they got way too greedy with it. and you know the base content that you get when you first buy the game itself, like it was way more shallow in comparison to the first game, I think, even though it did have more of a story. But the reasons why people were so hooked to the first game wasn't prevalent in the second game, in terms of the grinding and the level of gear that you're getting and things like that. So yeah, they completely dropped the ball, and that definitely pissed me off too, Mills. So I can agree with that. And I feel like more and more companies are doing that now. Like they're just focusing on how they can get you to spend more money instead of focusing on how to actually keep you immersed in their world. And that's what I'm really scared about with Anthem. Like, because obviously they're trying to build off of that Destiny formula, but you know, how will they do it is the question. And I'm wondering if it's more of a business thing for them, or if they're actually trying to put attention to detail in the game and make it something that we're gonna enjoy. So yeah, are you planning to get Anthem, Mills, considering it's BioWare?
That's the only reason I'm getting it, because I don't like EA, but I like BioWare. BioWare, we keep saying if they don't succeed, they're probably going to get the boot. A lot of people get fired. I really think that could be true. So I don't want those guys to lose their jobs, because I want to see the next Dragon Age. I want to see the next Mass Effect, as long as it's not Andromeda 2. I really want to see what's going on. So I'm going to support Anthem because I want to support that studio.
Yeah. Let's just hope for the best. But Rich, what do you think though? Like, what do you think about innovation in this generation, and how microtransactions and loot boxes have like affected things, the business side of things?
So I want to say first and foremost, I agree with pretty much a lot of stuff that both Anthony and Mills said. I do not believe that obviously, as far as this generation is concerned, I think you cannot compare this to last generation, because last generation there was just there was a lot of games on both systems. All platforms had something to offer their fan base. And then when you think about how Microsoft started out this generation, it was not like was said already on this show. You would think that Microsoft would start strong because they had a great generation last generation, but that was not the case. And they actually had some people that was working for them at the time that thought, well, we need to focus more on entertainment. And because of that messaging, I feel the Xbox One never fully recovered. Now, Phil Spencer came in and did a lot of great stuff for the brand, and what he's doing for the future, we're going to definitely see how that goes. But I'm glad that he stepped in and took the role he did, because he did save it to some degree. But I feel because of Microsoft not having a particularly strong showing this generation, that is another reason as to why there hasn't been any innovation, and there hasn't really been many debates about what is the better console, because Microsoft has not really brought it this generation. They've been very slow to, they had a couple of titles that I thought, a couple of exclusives that I thought were pretty decent. Sunset Overdrive was a great game. But then, you have other stuff that they had this generation that was just, very mediocre. Recore, which is a game that I know I believe Gary said he did enjoy that game as well. So Recore, that was a flop.
No,
and then they had a lot of. Well, say what?
You're telling lies on me.
No, well, I believe we did have some people. Maybe it was Max. We had some people working with the Koalition that did enjoy that game. So, but yeah, Microsoft has not really brought it this generation, and I feel as though competition is definitely what keeps things interesting. So because Microsoft, I know there are a lot of people out there that think that Microsoft, they are still in competition with Sony. I don't think they are in competition with them this generation. Microsoft has done a lot of great things in terms of moving things forward with Game Pass. But when you're talking specifically about the game lineup, no one can deny that Sony has had a lot of quality exclusives this generation. Whereas Microsoft, they've had to basically, and when Phil Spencer acknowledges that they have to acquire studios, I mean, it's a great movement forward for what's going to happen down the road, but they haven't been doing too good this generation in terms of their exclusive titles. So we'll see what happens with next generation. I do believe next generation graphically, I don't think it's going to be a huge graphical leap. I think you'll see the same type of games that have pretty graphics. I don't really know what's going to be the trends that pick on for next generation. I know the battle royale thing is one of the bigger popular things right now, and I don't necessarily like that because I'm not really a huge PUBG fan. But I understand how it is appealing to some. But I'm hoping that stuff like that we need to have a little bit more diversity. A couple other things that happen next generation. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. One point that I did want to make though, when you asked about the microtransactions, I do think that has definitely caused some issues this generation. But the other thing that I think is, in my opinion, the biggest issue of this generation is that a lot of devs are releasing games that are half-assed, that are not complete, that are not polished, and then they're going in to update the stuff later. So that kind of changes how you look at a game the first month as opposed to how you look at it months later. Because I know perfect example, games like PUBG getting released, and obviously, it's an Xbox game preview. But when that game first launched on game preview, it was absolutely horrible. If you played the PC version of PUBG, right off the bat, PC version definitely better. But it's like, I understand devs, they need time to refine a game and make it great. But they need to, the people who are in charge, the shareholders or whatever, need to give the devs time. I understand they have to meet a deadline to get something done. But if a game needs polish, then they need to give the devs time to polish the game. And I know both you, Mills, and Gary played Mass Effect Andromeda and realized how many issues were with that game. So see, if that game came out later, as opposed to when EA said, you need to release it at this time, the game probably could have at least been better as far as the animation, as far as a lot of the stuff that they did in there. But I feel like it's a trend this generation where a game gets released, everything is not in there, and then devs are adding features to it later, which I don't really understand why they don't just add everything to it and then release the game. I just don't understand that. But again, I know it's a business decision. Companies want stuff to get done, so they say when it needs to get done, it needs to get done. But that is one issue this generation that I have noticed with a lot of games, and I wish that definitely changes moving forward.
I think Mills.
And I don't want to let this go past. Mass Effect Andromeda could have not been saved, no matter what. That game was garbage in the making from the very beginning. So bring back Shepard, and we'll be good.
Well, I believe didn't Casey Hudson come back after Andromeda, or did he come back before?
Oh, this was after, I believe. I mean, he's
Okay.
there now.
Well,
They teased the next Mass Effect in this past N7 day, but there wasn't really no other news aside from the armor will be an Anthem, the N7 armor. So,
well, hopefully now that Casey Hudson is back, we can get a good Mass Effect game in the future. But that remains to be seen.
That's it. That's if Anthem doesn't flop, and EA says, "All right, BioWare, that's it. We got to get rid of you guys." So hopefully Anthem is a success for the sake of BioWare's future. Because if not, then that will not be a good day for everybody working at that studio.
And I want to kind of go back real quick. I'm thinking about the innovation part. Do you guys feel like you can include and say that the screaming era kind of innovated during this generation? So would you kind of think about that?
Oh yeah, that like the streaming era definitely took off this generation, and I do think that had a big influence on the type of games that came out too. because developers consciously started considering how their game would be streamed because of that. So, and then esports as well, combined with esports, like I think streaming and esports are very interlinked because you have, I mean, in the case of Overwatch, you have streamers getting hired for the Overwatch League based on, the popularity of their stream and how well they play and everything. So, those two things tie together, and that influences the type of games we see because now companies are starting to think about having their games be more of an esport and more of a games like Fortnite that are perfect for streaming because people love watching people play Fortnite. So I definitely think the streaming era had a big influence. You gonna say something, Cap?
No, I was gonna say something.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
I thought you was trying to...
Yeah, unmuted. Nah, I unmuted by mistake.
But yeah, I think because we're talking about streaming and esports, that might be what I think about when it comes to this generation, like 10 years from now. Because the way the content is being put out, the way it's on the news, the way it's showing up on ESPN, it's like the industry as a whole is now that much more prevalent and more respected because of the streaming content. So if anything, that's what this generation is about. And that's what I'm going to remember.
It's crazy to think, like, when you think about it, it's like these game publishers, the developers, they're creating games to make a profit. But with the streaming era, it's like the actual gamers are able to make a profit too, because it's like people are getting money to play the game. And to think about that is crazy, because if you asked us that 10 years ago, like if you would ever make money just off of playing games and obviously not being media, like we would have never thought that was possible. But now it's like there's this whole new industry within gaming. Like it's like gaming just kind of expanded and gone into different directions a little bit. So I think that's definitely one positive thing about this generation, that we've seen the industry grow to levels we thought wasn't possible. So
Oh no, I certainly agree, and I think that Mills brought up a very good question with the streaming. I agree 100%. Esports has also taken off, so those are definitely some things that have happened this generation that have been positives in terms of growth. But yeah, outside of that, with the innovation, I mean, we'll certainly see. I mean, there's a lot of games that I haven't really had a chance to play. I like RPGs, but I haven't played too many of them. At least not this generation. There's one quick question I did want to ask, though, before we move on to the next topic, because I know Gary and I believe Mills, you both have played games like Persona 5, and I keep hearing that is one of the best. I mean, one of the best RPGs that has come out in a long time. Would you guys agree that there was some innovation in titles like that, or do you think that people are saying that they're basically hyping it up, saying that, but there's nothing special about the game?
I can definitely say I'll be quick because I know Mills has a lot to say on it too, but I don't know how Mills ranks it, but I can say honestly, Persona 5 is the best JRPG I played this generation, and it's one of the standout games I played, like one of those games that touched me the most, and left an imprint kind of. And I definitely want to see more games like that are just completely narrative focused and are thinking outside of the box and doing new things, So yeah, definitely a standout game for me. My favorite JRPG of the generation. Go ahead, Mills.
I mean, first I kind of have to preface my statements because I'm not a real RPG guy. I probably only played like 10 RPGs my life.
Really?
With that being said, Persona 5 is probably number 2 on my list of what I have played. I only played it because Gary told me to play it, pretty much. I saw him playing it. He talked about it on Twitter, so like I'll put that on my to-do list. So I played it like a year after it came out, and it does live up to the hype. I don't feel like I wasted my time. The experience was great. The content was there. It was flashy. It was animated to a T. I liked all of that. So my number one RPG, I probably would say Chrono Trigger. They need definitely release that. So they release that again. I'm buying 10 copies of it. But Persona 5 is that good too.
Well, that's why you need a gaming PC, because they literally just re-released Chrono Trigger on PC, and I think I bought it already. But yeah, it's one of the games that I still need to play, and now that you said that, I'm definitely gonna make it a priority. So
I'm probably gonna try that Dragon Quest 11 when it comes on the Switch. I heard that's pretty good too.
yeah, that's definitely a good game, but I wouldn't say it's any better than Persona 5. Some people do have it as their favorite JRPG this generation, but I don't think it's as good as Persona 5. So.
Damn. Yeah, that's well, we'll see about that. Hopefully, Square Enix don't take that personal, Gary.
They won't.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, two other quick topics to get into.
It's all about
This
the
next
Koalition.
Yeah, this is about the Koalition. So obviously, I do feel as though this is a story that you guys definitely can talk about. As Gary, you are the co-founder of the website. You know, you, Cap, Mills, you have been around the longest. I didn't join the site until a year later, and next year will actually be my 10-year anniversary. So how about you give everybody listening, for those that don't know, the story as to how the Koalition got started?
So I mean, Cap definitely has the best story here, but if you want me to start, I can set it off. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Cap could go ahead and start the story.
Okay. I mean, man, this is first of all, being 10 years into this is an amazing feat. And so, I think everyone deserves, a round of applause. Let's just pretend like we got sound effects on this show, and and just, carrying, the torch on this show. It's just amazing. The way the Koalition started in general was because to be honest, the Koalition started was as a rebellious act. We actually started a site called Analog Hype a very long time ago, and we started it because we were on a site called Boxed-In, and we felt like we were bringing that site so much traffic into the game section, and we had a core group of people who always just chilled and talked online, and it was just a really big community in the gaming section on that Boxed-In site. And so we just all decided, well, we doing all of this, let's just create our own site. We bringing all this traffic here, and so we created our own site and called it Analog Hype. And I think something happened with Analog Hype to where, a group of people felt like they can run the site a little bit better than we could. And so they kind of did a coup and they took the site and went off and did their own thing with it. And so a group of people, kind of was like, well, we don't like their vision for where they want to take video games and video game journalism. We like the vision that we had. And so that group of people was me and Gary and Ed and a few others, Dro, can't forget Dro. And we just decided to make our own site. We called it the Koalition. We built the site in one day, and we started putting articles out. And we knew we had to work our ass off, so we just started putting out so many articles. We was putting out at least 5 articles a day. I remember banging out articles. Then we started putting out podcasts. This is before podcasts was cool, Now podcasts are cool. and it was just amazing, man. We went to E3, we went out to game conferences and started chilling with developers, and honestly, man, it's been a wild ride, and the coalition has been the bedrock to so many careers. There's so many writers that have come here and have went off and created their own careers, in this industry. And I think that's amazing in itself. Even me, I could say, if it wasn't for the coalition, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today. I wouldn't have done a lot of the things that I've done, in these years that follow. So coalition has really been the bedrock to so many careers, and honestly, man, I think it's going to continue to be great. And I have to tip my hat off to Gary and Rich and Tony and everyone who's working on the site now. Putting in the work and continuing and carrying that torch, because it's very important. It's gonna continue to do what it's always been doing. So that's a short version of the story. Of course, there's more, but I feel like definitely want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, Gary and Mills.
Yeah, I'm sure Gary can add in to more of the origin about the very beginning. But I came in like at the very end of that split. When that group of people created the coalition, that's when I jumped into it, because I was on like at the sidelines. I respected everyone who was working on the analog hype site. I was pretty much still posting unboxed and watching everything going down. So when that split happened, it's like I had to pick a side. And the side that I chose was the group of the coalition that became, because everyone had their own opinions. I saw how dedicated they were, and I knew I wanted to be a part of that kind of team. So pretty much I treated myself like I was Chris Jericho at that time, because Chris Jericho just came out of nowhere in wrestling. He said, "Here I am. What's up?" So I kind of reached out and did the same thing to the coalition group as soon as they was getting started. And they didn't give me any pushback. They were like, "Yeah, you cool. Come on, jump on the wave." So that first year on the coalition, I mean, we had so much dedication. We wanted to get our name out there. We were playing games. We were reviewing them. We had a good time. So the experience that I got from working during that first year, I mean, it's priceless, man. I appreciate everything that happened, and we are where we are today because of the coalition. So.
Yeah, man. So I mean, like,
let me just jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Hey, yo, I just went to analoghype.com on my computer, and they ain't there no more. And this ain't no beef to nobody who was building that site or anything. Shout out to y'all, man. And success to you guys. But it's a testament. There were a lot of sites that started around the same time we did. A lot of sites, man. And we still here. You know what I mean? And I think the fact that, like I said, shout out to Analog Hype, but the fact that they're not longer here, I mean, that speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of sites that is no longer here, And so, I think that's a testament to us and our core and what we built as a culture with the site, man. So just want to point that out.
Yeah, that's true, man. Like we've come a long way. A lot of sites checked out, but yeah, we were still here. And that's why I enjoy keeping the legacy alive, because we achieved a lot. So I definitely want to keep people educated on that. I don't want people to forget that we were ever here, because we did a lot in our time. So yeah. So as for my origin story and how my story fits into things, so I was posting on Boxton too. Now the thing is, I had multiple accounts on Boxton, so to some of these guys who started the site, it might seem like I came out of nowhere, but it's because I had multiple accounts, so they probably didn't, realize who I was and stuff like that. But I'd been listening to the Co-op podcast because the Co-op podcast actually started on Boxden. It was called something else at first, but it started on Boxden, and then from there they made Analog Hype, and when they made the jump to Analog Hype, they also had forums there, and I was posting every day on the Analog Hype forums, and that's how I got noticed. And because I was posting so much and I was so dedicated to the movement and everything, it was actually Edward V. He invited me on one of the episodes of the Co-op, and from then on I was just part of the team. Like it was like a natural kind of progression. And then when the split happened with Analog Hype, I became, one of the co-founders of the Koalition, because, that was the next step in a legacy at that point. So, yeah, and I can say that the Koalition has been a big part of my personal growth as well. I remember that particular year when we started in 2008, like I was going through a rough year. My grandma had passed away. I was in hospital for a long time because of sickle cell. So I was going through a lot, and the Koalition definitely helped to uplift me. It kept me motivated. It gave me something to kind of channel all my energy on, and yeah, that's why I'm still here today doing this, because like it's definitely helped. It's helped my personal growth as a person. So. I'll forever be grateful to Anthony and everyone else who started the site with us, and everyone's contributions. I love seeing how we've influenced the industry. Like we have people writing at IGN and Upload VR, Shack News. We have people who have moved on to do great things in the industry. So that says it itself. The Koalition is definitely one of the most important independent media brands in gaming. So there you go.
Damn, that last line he said, man, he said that with some power to it.
Yeah. Hey, yo, man, I'm about to throw more hype. I'm about to throw more fire in the gasoline. So, more gasoline to the fire, I guess. But be honest with you, man, we had a lot of people jealous of us too, man. I feel like now's the time. It's been years, and it's now everybody's past it. But I definitely want to just say, like, people were very jealous of our success. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were super jealous of our success. There was a time where, people were so jealous, they actually took out advertisements with my face on it. Dissing the Koalition, and, as a funny move and like as a joke, as a prank, and so.
Yeah, I remember that. That was messed up. Like, especially.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you remember, but we were actually planning something big with Torrance at the time, and like, us and that other party, we were all involved in trying to build, but then they did that. And that just messed everything up. So
yeah, it was crazy. And then we won awards. Let's pat ourselves on the back for that. We won in our first year out. We won a Black Weblog Award.
Mm-hmm.
Our first year out, and this is huge. You know what I'm saying? Like we were really doing some big things, man. And so it's just an honor, man, to really be able to work with you guys, man. And I honestly feel like, sky's the limit. Like we need to start thinking about Koalition 4.0, because I know we went through several iterations. So, and really just think about the future, man. And I think that, everybody who's worked really hard, nobody, and I want everybody to realize, with the Koalition as well, like everybody has put their skin in the game with this website, meaning like, even though people were able to create careers off of the Koalition was a big non-for-profit. Let's just be honest right now. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is like all the money we generate from this website has gone back into, you know, back into making the community better, back into making sure that we had coverage at some of the largest gaming conferences around, back into making sure the site was up. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, a lot of writers put skin in the game. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to tip my hat to all of you guys who use this as a way to propel your careers, you know, because you did it the right way, you know. Even me and there's a brief period when me and Rich was in California living together.
Oh yeah.
You know, when we was in Silicon Valley building a gaming website because of my experience with the Koalition. You know, we had fun. We spent the whole damn summer out there. You know.
Oh yeah.
So it was awesome. It's a lot of history, man. A lot of history, man. I remember our first E3, bro, with Randy, with Seven Dog and Swift. It was, and we had a fun out there, man. It was the first time really, you know, really getting out the, you know, it really solidified us. You know what I mean? This isn't just a website where it's a few guys online bullshitting around. Like we really had a mission. We was really getting out the house. You know what I mean? Getting out the house with this. So, you know, I'm glad. You know, shout out to David. Shout out to everyone, man, who's just really part of this. A lot of people have come and gone too. Man, we had some really crazy hires, bro. We had some nutcases we done hired, man. Like I remember we had some nutcases, man. It was fun though, man. It was fun, you know. Like we always had fun. Anytime we had a bad employee, man, that shit was insane.
Whenever we had a bad employee, maybe y'all make me fire him. I remember doing that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Mills is the cleanup man. You know what I mean? Mills got to go clean that shit up. Like I don't know, his services are no longer needed.
Yeah, man. But straight up, anybody who came through the coalition at any point in time, I want to say thank you. Whether you were there for a day, whether you were there for 10 years, I mean, you helped build something that's still here today. So appreciate it.
For sure.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Well, you know, since you already touched on it, I was going to ask if you guys had any other memories you wanted to share.
Yeah, like the last discussion point was basically what's your best memory, you know, with the coalition. So, I mean, perfect segue into it.
Yeah. So I do have a few quick ones I want to mention, and then I'll go to you guys. Obviously, I know the first opportunity I had to go to E3, and that of course was thanks to the coalition, because I've always been someone that I saw this convention. I was curious, you know, what it would take to get to this convention. It's always a dream that I had to attend. And really cannot overstate just how much your life will change. How much my life has changed just by joining the website and being affiliated with a lot of great people, friends for life. But going to E3 as well, you know, because E3 essentially, whenever we go to E3, that is our opportunity. You know, I know a lot of people will go to E3 with the mindset, yeah, I want to go check out the games. I want to go play some games, but really when I go to these events, it is to connect with people who I consider my second family, because I only see them but a few times a year, if I'm lucky. And I know with Gary living out in the UK and I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia right now, it's definitely won't see Gary that often. So whenever I get an opportunity to go to E3, I always enjoy it. And I do recall the first time I went, it was an excellent experience. Getting, you know, obviously, I believe we were staying at, I forget what hotel it is because it has been remodeled now, but we did have an experience on this trip because if I recall,
the Clarion.
That's it, the Clarion.
Clarion.
Yeah, the Clarion. Well, now it's another hotel now. They've remodeled it. The last time I was at E3, I saw. But that hotel was interesting. I will say that much. But what I do remember is that first time we went there, it just so happens that I believe it was the van when we were leaving E3. We got on the exact same van, and it just so happens that Analog Hype was staying at the same hotel and leaving to go to the airport at the exact same time.
That was an awkward ass ride back to the airport. Yeah. That was an awkward ass ride back to the airport.
Oh yes, yes.
See, this is the days before Uber when everybody had to get super van and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was interesting. I didn't know all of the history of what happened with Analog Hype, so I had to learn some of this stuff. But that was interesting. One other memory that I did want to mention, then I'll move on to somebody else, is I do recall when I first joined the website. I believe that I was on the site for I think about a week, and then I believe you guys were having a podcast, decided to record a podcast, and they said, "Yeah, how about you join the podcast?" So I joined the podcast, and I believe at the time we had Hyper on the show as well as Andre Tipton.
Oh yeah.
And these guys got into a conversation that lasted for hours and hours and hours. I forget what game they were talking about specifically. All I know is that, it was an entertaining conversation, but man, that was there had to be at least 3 or 4 hours podcast we recorded. Because they really got into that. Because I know Hyper liked going back and forth on a lot of things that he kept saying. So yeah, that was funny.
Wasn't Hyper one of those dudes Mills had to let go of? I don't know. I think so.
Is that true, Mills?
Oh no.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, okay. It's one of those guys. Hilarious.
Shout out the Hyper.
Yo, man. Shout out to Dro, man. Like Dro has, I think we'll be remiss not to give a big shout out to Dro, who was pretty much the CTO of the Koalition and really just built the website. You know what I mean? He always built the website, always is helping out. Dro didn't even know how to code when we started this website. And then he just turned into someone who just was a master at WordPress and PHP and learning how to code. Like he just became a master at coding, and that was only through necessity. Like it wasn't because we just didn't have anybody. And he became our ace because we had Dro, we were able to sustain, and there was a lot of people who just couldn't understand why our site looked better than his. You know what I mean? So, shout out to Dro, man.
And the real crazy thing about Dro is no one, we never met this guy in person, never seen him in person. I know a couple of you guys maybe heard his voice a few times, but I've never actually heard Dro's voice. Never saw him in person. And the thing is, he never. Anytime we had a chance to go to E3, he was one of the people that he was never interested in going to any of these shows. So we haven't ever had a chance to meet him, which I find crazy. But yeah, he's done a significant amount of things for the website. You definitely have to mention everything that he's done in terms of getting it operating and maintaining it for so long. So yeah, you're right. Definitely got to give him a shout out.
And shout out to Kennedy too. I feel like Kennedy is the spoken word Dro. Yeah,
Oh yeah, Kennedy is hilarious. This guy, another guy who I have encouraged. Well, you should definitely come on the shows. He says no, man. But he is very good at impersonating me, though.
Mm-hmm. Kennedy's a Trump supporter too, man, by the way.
Oh, whoa, he is.
I ain't mean to derail the thing.
Oh,
he is. I gotta look into this.
That's crazy. I didn't know that though, so I gotta ask him about that one. But yeah, you know, yeah, there's been a lot of great experiences. I have to see if I can think of any other ones. I'm going to go to you, Gary, if you had any other memories you wanted to mention in regards to the coalition.
Oh man, like there's so many great memories like that we had, like because this was like a brotherhood, like we all grew together. Like there's so many stories, but you know, obviously I have to. I've probably talked about this before, but I have to mention that first E3 I went to. Like it was a life changing thing. It was like it was me, Anthony, and Seven Dog, aka Randy. So shouts to him too, because you know he put a lot of funding behind the coalition when we originally started and everything. So big shouts to him. But yeah, that first trip to E3 was life changing. I know like Cap and Seven Dog, they probably thought I was a weirdo because of the culture difference. Like you know, with me being from England and you know, obviously they're in the US and everything. Like they probably thought I was a weirdo at first, but then you know we got used to each other after a while, and it was cool. And you know we built a lot of relationships with other people there and everything. And you know, off of that trip, I also met my father. So that was you know a huge. That will always be like a huge moment in my life, like that first E3. Like it was my first time traveling alone, first time going to E3, first time feeling like I fit in somewhere, and first time meeting my dad. So that was like a life defining moment for me. So that I definitely have to say that, you know, as my best memory. But there's been so many great moments throughout the coalition's history.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. How about you, Mills? Did you have any other moments you wanted to share?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of moments, but two moments particularly stand out during that E3 where we stayed at the Clarion. One was not getting into the Microsoft press conference.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
I think that's where my hate of Microsoft may have started to kind of build up right there. That we couldn't get into that conference.
That was when Cap won that free Xbox, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You didn't have to win it. You just had to get in the door. It was there for the show. Everybody got the hook up. So the fact that we were already there and waiting in line and couldn't get in, I'll never forget that Microsoft for that one. But the second is with you, Gary. When before I went to that Video Games Live concert, I ran to the store and got some Four Locos.
Oh man!
And we started drinking on those Four Locos, and you couldn't control your laughter. I started to feel like I was Martin Lawrence in the room. Every time I said something, you would laugh. I was like, "What's up?" And you would start laughing. You couldn't stop. So I never forget that. Them Four Locos was pretty strong, and they're not easy to find anymore. So shout outs to them.
Yeah, I don't know what they put in that drink, but yeah, like that drink was powerful.
Definitely, that was a good time.
Yeah, that's one.
Something else stands out too, since Ed's in the chat. Shout out to Ed. I remember his computer broke down and he couldn't write for a little bit on the site. So I sent him my old computer to try to get him back and running. But while it was in transit, he actually got another computer. So it all worked out in the end on that.
So what did he do with that spare computer?
He said he still has it somewhere in his closet, basement somewhere.
That's property of the coalition, man. You need to send that back.
I didn't even know anything about that story. That's interesting. All right. So all right, Anthony. Any final moments that you wanted to mention?
Every moment was magic, man. Just chilling on Skype. Skype was like our office, man. You know, and just I miss actually chilling with you guys on Skype and just joking around, having a good time, man. That shit was always enjoyable, man. It was almost like a home away from home. You know what I'm saying? Like when, you know, jump on Skype, there's always something going on. Always something people was talking about. Always something that was funny and something. And then I remember the days where we would just have chats where we didn't have shit going on. We didn't have a podcast. We didn't have a meeting. We was just in the chat, just on Skype, and just Ed would jump in and say, "Is this a meeting? What are we in here for?" And then he'll just hang up, and then he'll come back later. Because we would just have, we just sit up there shooting the shit, man. So yeah, it was like a brotherhood, man. And we had a few women in the team too, and we got women on the team today. Shout out to Dana, and then Tatiana.
Yeah.
But even in the past, I think we had some women on the team who probably came and went when they saw they didn't like our environment. So, it was this is before the new climate we in. You know what I mean? So, it's just we have fun, man. We have fun, man, and I think I'll never forget any of that. And I think I would love to recreate that, man. I think we need to, not even just for video games, but just as brothers, man. We definitely need to all get together occasionally, either be online or even in person, and really just shoot the shit, man, and really just talk about, life and how we gonna make it to the next level, man. So every moment was memorable to me. Every moment was a fun moment. The first E3, all the conferences, even the conference recaps. We always have fun, man. Even the guys who were at home during E3, they always was just excited, man. So shout out to everybody, man, who's always part of this movement, man. And you definitely made memories, and if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be who I am today, man. So thank you.
Thank you too, man. I do have an additional memory that I just remembered. There was this one time where the site just went down like completely. There was something went wrong with the server and it just shut down. And I remember we literally had like a 25-hour Skype call. Like it was just all day long. Like we were just on Skype. Like people were dropping in and out, like doing different things, but like that call lasted like an entire day, like longer than a day, while we were, trying to get the site back up and everything. And that's just another memory that always comes back to me every now and then. It's like, just the state of devastation that the site was down, but then it also brought us together, and it's just one of those moments where it defines the brotherhood that we have and the dedication we had to the site at that point in time. So yeah, that's another memory.
I don't recall I can't remember if I was around for that one, but it kind of feels like I was around for one of those times when the site went down. So
I think he was, but yeah.
Yeah, the site always went down a few times. Shout out to Ed, man. He always was wondering where that Castle Crasher review I was supposed to write was ever gonna get submitted. That shit ain't never getting done, bro. And I still got Castle Crashers, even on my Xbox One. Because everything transfers over. So you ain't never getting that one, buddy.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's true. So I guess we'll come into a close here. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to bring up, Gary, or Mills or Cap.
I mean, we need to talk about, really, where the site is going, and I think we need to have a discussion, man, about, putting a gaming podcast on, as people don't know, like I do have a podcast network. And so we need to have some discussions about putting the podcast on my network, and hopefully being able to create more exposure for the Koalition podcast, the Co-op podcast, man.
I agree 100% with that. And I know Gary and I have been working on something. We cannot really announce it at the moment, but there will be some news in the future regarding other platforms the co-op might be on. So we'll talk about that at a later time. But we definitely need to talk about this other stuff for sure. Agreed.
Oh yeah,
So,
the off-air discussion is gonna be on point for sure.
oh yeah. So, with that said, I think that does conclude our show for today. I definitely want to thank everybody for listening. Um, I do want to give a shout out to everyone that is a part of the coalition team, and I just wanted to make one thing known. Yes, today was an anniversary special, but we are going to continue to have the anniversary going on because there are a ton of other people that have expressed interest in coming back on the show. So we are going to have David Jagno return. We're still trying to get the schedule worked out. We're definitely going to have others, including Dana, JJ, and pretty much Tony as well, and others will still be on the show. So make sure you stay tuned for that because we're trying to work out all that scheduling stuff now. But I definitely want to give a shout out to Mills and Cap for joining us today because yeah, I thought it was excellent discussions all around, and I appreciate them taking the time to come back and relive everything that we've experienced so far with the coalition. It's definitely life changing moments.
Yeah, it was definitely good to be here. I'm glad I could be a part of the coalition and work with you gentlemen. And just want to say happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there too. Thanks for your service. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, yes. Happy Veterans Day, indeed.
And thank you for your service.
Oh, whoa, yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, so final shout outs. How about you go first, Anthony? Any shout outs, any plugs you wanted to mention?
Just shout out to everybody. Listen, I got a new podcast called Leaders Create Leaders that just launched on every platform: Spotify, um, Google, Apple. It's called Prudential Presents. So if it doesn't say Prudential Presents in the front of it, it's not the right one. So Prudential Presents Leaders Create Leaders. Go listen to it. It's hosted by Gerard Adams, who's the founder of Elite Daily. Years ago, like maybe like 2-3 years ago, he sold it for $50 million. I was thinking we could do the same thing with Koalition, so stay tuned for that. Only halfway joking. But shout out to everybody, man. So go listen to that podcast. Shout out to all the fans, all the listeners, all the people who are writers on the coalition, and yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. How about you, Mills? Any other shout outs that you want to give?
Nah. Just want to shout out once again everyone who ever came through the coalition. Big ups to you. And just the gaming community as a whole. There's a lot of mess going on in the world, but gaming itself is something that's kind of bringing us together. It's supposed to be something we can use, as a peace offering. So let's kind of keep gaming, nice and positive. Let's keep all the bullshit out of the way, and let's just keep gaming.
I agree 100% with what you said, and I could not have said that any better than the way you said it. So I agree with that 100%. All right, Gary. Now the floor is yours for shout outs.
Yeah, so I want to shout out a few people from Patreon. That's M. Collins, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Miguel, Antonio Rogers, and Sean Gority. Big thanks for your continued support, and definitely look out for more content coming soon. We are definitely having discussions behind the scenes about the future direction of things, and where we're going to take things in 2019. So definitely expect some changes and some new types of content and some new variety. So we thank you guys for continuing to support us, and thanks to everyone who joined in the chat today also. I saw Edward in there. Shouts to Daniel Lawson, Robert Old, Christopher Hart, and and Reggie as well. So big shout outs to you guys. Thanks for, getting involved with the discussion and everything. And a big shout outs to the whole Koalition team, past and present, because you've all been a part of this amazing journey. So thank you to everyone.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you to everybody. And we thank you all for your continued support, listening to the show. Hope that you all have a great rest of the weekend as well as the week. And we will talk to you all next week.
Peace.